Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School of Geography, Geology and Environment. My name's Andy Carr, and I'm the admissions tutor for the school. I'm also a geographer and environmental scientist. I teach across a lot of our undergraduate programs about the physical environment, physical geography of the Earth. And I'm going to talk a bit today with my colleague, who I'm going to introduce, Mark Reichow, who deals with geology admissions in the school. I just want to say hello, Mark.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the School of Geography, Geology and Environment. I'm Mike Reichow. I'm a member of staff here. I'm a volcanologist. I'm interested in volcanoes, how they form, where they're coming from, what they do. And as like Andy just introduced, like the presentation, we'll talk to you about tonight about our degree courses, like the classes and what you can expect if you join us here at the University of Leicester to study geography, geology, or the environment. And the presentation, like Andy will start it, and I'll just like hand over. I will talk as well to you later on, but I'll just hand over to Andy again. He will start the presentation you are waiting for.
Thanks very much, Mark. So yeah, welcome everyone. What I'd like to do is hopefully give you as much information as I can over the next half hour or so, give you a little bit of a feel for what we do and what life is like in the School of Geography, Geology, Environment for students, and then also a little bit of detail on the different courses that we offer. I'm working on the assumption that you're thinking about or in the process of completing your UCAS form, so you're thinking which courses to apply to, and hopefully we'll give you a sense of what each of our courses does, what makes them different, and help you make an informed decision on what might be a good course for you. So we are one big school within the university, and we teach and do research across a very broad range of subjects, from human geography all the way through to environmental science, geoscience, and geophysics. So the things we teach and we research encompass a huge range of things that basically happen on planet Earth or involve people who live on planet Earth. We have about 300 or so undergraduate students at any one time across 3 years of the taught programs, and about 45 academic staff members, and quite a large number of postgraduate researchers and taught postgraduate courses as well. So we're not a huge department or school. There's quite a few of us, but you'll get to know us quite well. We're quite a close-knit community. And what is it we actually want to achieve as a school? Well, you might wonder why I'm telling you this, but what we would like to do in terms of what we teach and what we research is to address really important challenges that exist in the 21st century, to research and teach about key issues that we as a society have to think about going forward. How do we build healthy, productive, sustainable lives into the future? We do that by understanding the planet that we live on, how it works, and the people that are there, and of course, critically, the connections between the two. And, you know, the sorts of topics that I'm sure you're interested in and that we teach with our students, topics like climate change, are kind of epitomize that complexity of the physical processes that happen on the planet, but also the impact they have on people and the impact people themselves have on the environment. And so understanding these key issues is what we're all about, and we can take different approaches for doing that, from a very social science, human geography perspective, right through to understanding the physical processes of exploding volcanoes in the way that Mark might be interested in doing. But in terms of life as a student, what we want to do, we want to produce excellent graduates with really useful critical skills and employable skills, so that the time and the money that you invest in your undergraduate degree means you're very well equipped to go out into the world of work, that you're able to think critically and to communicate well, and that you have a set of skills that are really of interest to employers going forward. And as well as doing that, we want you to have a good time with us. We want to be welcoming. We're a very diverse and inclusive university and diverse inclusive school. And I think one of the key things about GGE at Leicester is that we all contribute to teaching. We all work very closely with our students, and we make a real point of getting to know our students on an individual basis. So that's one of the things that we take very seriously in school. So we offer 7 different undergraduate degrees, and we will go through each of those in a moment. Hopefully one of those or more of those will be of interest to you. But what I've put here is actually some reference to research. So of course, when academics such as Mark and myself, when we're not teaching, the other thing we do is carry out research in our particular specialisms. And what I'm showing here is what we would consider at Leicester some of our key research strengths and interests within the school. And I've ordered the themes here, sort of spanning the social science at the top through to subjects like the history of life on Earth and volcanology at the bottom, so down to the pure physical sciences. And the reason I'm telling you about research is the big thing that will differentiate university from school teaching, or it should differentiate university from school teaching, is that people are teaching to their research strengths, to their things that they are actively researching on a day-to-day basis, and that the people teaching are actually experts, international experts in the field that they're talking about. And that's the really exciting thing about going to university, that you'll quickly start to engage with the latest cutting-edge ideas in your subject, and you'll get to those interesting complexities and uncertainties at the limits of the discipline. That's the exciting thing about studying at university. Another reason you might want to think about this is if you have particular interests. If you're a geologist and you want to do some volcanologists, or you're a human geographer and you want to do something in urban geography, you should really be looking at the research specialisms of the department of school you're thinking of applying to, and you should see that manifested in the optional module, particularly in the final year of a degree. And I hope I'll show you as we go through this talk that lots of these particular strengths are reflected in the specialisms that we can offer at third year level. And this idea of research-inspired teaching is really something that we take very seriously at Leicester. So as I said, we're all internationally active researchers, but we want you to get involved. And I think that's the really important thing. Someone good saying, I do lots of research, but what does it mean for you? It means you're part of a community, that you're getting involved in real projects. There's lots of opportunities through a dissertation or working with staff to actually be working on day-to-day research with us. And again, that's one of the fantastic opportunities of being at university. So at the point of the UCAS cycle that we're in, you presumably are thinking about getting that UCAS form submitted. And I'm guessing the fact you're here means you're fairly certain you're interested in studying something within geography, geology, or environment. It is important to think about why you want to study different topics. And I would, when I normally in-person open day, I get a bit more time to talk about this, but I think these are really good disciplines to be studying at university. They're exciting disciplines to be studying. You're working with real world problems, climate change. Where do we find all the minerals that we need for our electric car batteries? What do we do about climate change? What do we do about poverty and inequality, or water security or energy security? These are all the key problems that you see on the news every day. And these are topics that are covered in all of our degrees. And in thinking about these big, difficult challenges, you'll get some key skills. You need to be a critical thinker. You need to be able to analyze lots of information, lots of kinds of data, qualitative and quantitative data. And perhaps one of the biggest things that's changed in our disciplines in the last few decades is the big data revolution. So we may make maps as geographers, but we're basing those maps on huge data sets that are now available to us. If you think about the amount of information about people and the environment that is created on a daily basis, just for example, by your phone knowing where you are. That's geographical information, and that's available to us. You think about satellite data, we can freely download gigabytes of imagery of the Earth's surface and the processes operating on Earth. So we're very much part of the big data revolution, and we need real skills to be able to work with that kind of data. And those are also employable skills as well. And we'll try and show you a few examples of the sorts of careers that our graduates have gone into. And hopefully you'll see that some of those are really do reflect the kind of digital world that we're living in. And so we are very, as disciplines, our students are very much able to sell themselves when they graduate as having really employable skills. And of course, one thing that you can do in all of these courses is you can build them to reflect your own interests. There's lots of scope to specialise in particular themes that are of interest to you, even within an individual degree, whether you're a geologist, a geographer, or an environmental scientist. So just a few things about us. I think, you know, why might you choose Leicester? It's worth thinking about as you're making these difficult decisions. We really focus on our staff-student ratios. We like to ensure that lots of our teaching, even in the first year, is small group teaching, not in big lecture theatres, but, you know, small groups of students having two-way conversations and not just lecturing at you, having lots of opportunities to do experiential or experience-based learning, whether that's in the lab or in the field, and that kind of thing. And there's lots of flexibility in our courses. Our courses are also accredited to the learned societies that our disciplines are associated with. So, for example, our geography courses have been checked and accredited by the Royal Geographical Society, and the same applies for our geology courses and for Geological Society London. I think one of the more important things for us, because we put a lot of effort into it and it will reflect your day-to-day experience, is the National Student Survey results, which we're really pleased with for last year. We scored very highly in the rankings that we were given for this. And these National Student Surveys are based on the experiences of our third-year graduating students each year. And we scored really well this year. And that reflects the effort that we put into in terms of supporting our students through their degree programs. The university as a whole has also had a very good year. And one thing maybe to flag particularly is this thing called the TEF, the Teaching Excellence Framework, which is about the providing an outstanding student experience. And as an institution overall, we were ranked gold by the Office of Students. And then again, that's probably of all the kind of stats and things that you hear about when you go to open days, it's things like this that are based on actual students' experiences that I think are the most important in helping them make decisions. So that's a little bit about us. These are the courses that we offer, and I've put the UCAS codes there as well to help. So what we don't have time for is to go through every single module of every single course, but what we're going to try and do is just give you a little bit of a flavour about what each course is about, what the basic content is, and what differentiates some of these courses from each other. So we have two ways of doing human geography. We have a physical geography, BSc geography degree, we have an environmental science degree, and then we have 3 degrees associated with geology, which Mark will talk about when we get to them. All of these courses operate, like most university courses, through students taking individual modules on particular topics, and they will be a mixture of core modules that you're required to take at that particular degree, and then optional modules, which are the ones you build in that reflect your own particular interests. As you move through your degree, the proportion of optionality increases. So by your 3rd year, almost all the modules that you take are ones that you have chosen to do, optional modules. And you'll have more core modules, particularly in the 1st and 2nd year, where you're hoping to develop those particularly important subject-specific skills, and some of those are transferable skills that allow you to kind of access the higher level areas of your particular topic. And we'll teach you in many different ways. As I've already alluded to, we like to teach in small groups. We like to teach in the field. We like to do practicals with you, and this is a good way also to get to know our students. And the best way to learn is to be actively learning rather than sort of passively sitting in a lecture theatre. And I think that's quite important. The degrees work basically as outlined on this slide. So the most important thing about your 1st year is we call that the transition to university. It's a different style of teaching, it's a different style of learning. Expectations are different. Of course, you're settling in maybe to your new life at university. So a lot of what we do is focused on providing support through that transition to university, building a foundation in the basics of the topic that you're working on, and even, dare I say, making some mistakes. So getting to know what skills you have, what skills you need to work on, and that 1st year doesn't count towards your final degree class. But hopefully by the end of that 1st year, you're in a good position to really start specialising in particular areas that interest you going into years 2 and 3. And then you can see as you move through the degree, if you look at the bottom row, the weighting of the marks towards your final degree class increases as you get better at being a geographer or a geologist or environmental scientist. There's a bigger weighting on the third year, the higher level skills, the more complex topics, and the more innovative and creative thinking that you can demonstrate. A good example might be a dissertation project, final year, where you're creating your new knowledge and new data, and you're going to have to interpret those data and communicate them in different ways. And those are the higher level skills that by your third year you've hopefully honed. And that's why there's quite a strong weighting in your degree class towards those final year marks. The teaching is quite different. We like it to be a conversation and a collective experience, that you're working with us and working in groups. And of course, the big difference at university is you're much more independent. So you have more control over how you learn, when you learn, whether you want to work in the library all night, it's kind of up to you, that's available. You're much more independent. That's very liberating in some ways. And it can be slightly disconcerting in the first year. So we have quite a lot of that first year to support you, particularly for your personal tutor, getting to find the way of studying that works well for you and dealing with this greater level of independence that is very much a part of being at university. So that might mean how you manage your time, but it might also mean there's more uncertainty in how you might tackle a piece of work. There may be multiple correct ways of doing a piece of work. And that can be slightly disconcerting if someone says, well, what do you think is the best way to do this? And so getting used to that sort of situation is very much part of that first year, and also the way we have our personal tutoring system and our peer mentoring systems to support you through your degree. So you will have a personal tutor and you'll get to know that person really well. You'll have weekly tutorials with them in the first year. We also have a senior tutor who deals with welfare. And a lot of the way we deliver our courses is electronically, through virtual learning environments such as Blackboard, where we can post recordings of lectures, where students will upload their coursework and get their coursework feedback and things like that. And we also work very closely with the university's accessibility centre, so to support students through their learning with issues like dyslexia or dyscalculia. There's a whole network of support for students in those sorts of situations as well. So those are the sorts of general things that we provide to give you a bit of a sense of the courses. So like I said, there's 7 different degrees. I just want to give you a little bit of a flavour of each and explain basically how they differ. So from a geography perspective, the most common routes through are to take the BA Geography, the L700, or the BSc Geography, which is the F800 courses. And these are both general geography degrees, and they have a common first year. So most geographers will take 95% the same classes in their first year, and they'll do a bit of everything, a bit of human, a bit of physical, and really get to know the basics of the discipline in that first year. So here it says the BA Geography focus mostly on human geography with physical geography options throughout. So you'll do some physical geography in year 1, and then from year 2 you have the option then to focus entirely on human geography if that's what you want to do, or you could keep some elements of physical geography and build a bit more of a discipline spanning kind of degree, depending on what interests you. In all of our modules, you'll see this on the slides, there's a mixture of residential fieldworks in years 1 and 2, and those are associated with the core modules. And then we'll talk more specifically later about fieldwork, optional fieldwork. So all of our degrees, the fieldwork in third year is optional. And at the bottom here in each of these slides, I've put a few example modules of this typical of the degree that I'm talking about. So here are just a few of the optional modules in the second and third year BA Geography program. And hopefully you'll see some of the interesting human geography themes that perhaps you're already a little bit familiar with, issues like migration or environmental challenges or global south, and an example of the sort of specialisms that maybe you've not thought of. So the geographies of health and well-being is a third year option, which is a research specialism with one of our human geography staff members, and she's able to offer quite a detailed take on that topic in the third year. So it gives you a little bit of a flavour of the sorts of themes that this course will cover or will allow you to cover. And the mirror image to that is the BSc geography. So that's mostly physical geography, but with that bit of human geography in the common first year, and then options to keep some human geography in your second and third year should you wish, or to specialize only in physical geography. And again, I've got some of those option modules from the second and third year there. So for example, my third year specialism is the dryland landscapes and ecology. My main research and teaching interest is in deserts of the world and understanding how things survive in deserts and how deserts have evolved through time. So I teach actually 2 third-year modules that deal with that topic. And another specialism of the school are the tropical environments. So, for example, there's the Amazon ecology module there, which is taught by a colleague from Brazil who does lots of interesting discussions about the Amazon rainforest issues associated with that. So those are the geography modules. There's one other geography module, degree, not modules. There's one other geography degree to highlight, and that's the BA Human Geography. So this differs from BA Geography. In the simplest way of explaining that is it has no physical geography. So you don't have a common first year with physical geographers. And the big difference is this opens up instead options in other social science disciplines. So in years 1 and 2, rather than doing any physical geography, you can take courses in sociology, politics, international relations. And these offer some really interesting social science modules that are actually very nicely dovetailed with a lot of issues and topics and themes in human geography. So the option modules I'm showing here, the ones in normal text are geography modules, optional modules in human geography, and the 2 in bold text, the power, privilege, diversity, society and transformation, are options in sociology that human geographers can take. And I think if you've done a little bit of human geography, you'll already see themes like privilege and diversity and transformation are key themes for human geographers as well. So this is a degree that actually connects up human geography with the rest of the social sciences, which I think is a really interesting take on the subject. The other degree that we offer, which is quite new for us, our first cohort from this degree graduated just this summer, but we've been really pleased with the interest in this degree, is our BSc Environmental Science, which we teach with biological sciences. And here students will build a degree that's much more holistically focused on the operation of the Earth as a planet, and also practical skills in topics like conservation and biodiversity and mineral resources. So practical skills for environmental management and sustainability going forward. So this has the most optionality of all our degrees because you can pull in modules from across geography, biological sciences and geosciences. And you'll see in the example modules, there's some interesting courses taught by biology, such as biodiversity and behavior, and conservation biology, which connect nicely to themes within geography and physical geography, but also go much more beyond that in terms of giving students real practical employability skills. If you're interested in conservation and things like that, then there's some practical skills that would be of interest to you there as well. So that's a really diverse degree that could be put together in quite a few different ways, potentially depending on your interests. So another way might be to take a more natural resources, mineral resources, sustainability and net zero route through that course, rather than a more conservation route. So that's the environmental science. And then what I'm going to do now is hand over to Mark and let him talk a little bit about the geology degrees.
Yes, thank you, Andy, and so welcome back. So you just heard about the exciting choices you have doing like physical geography and human geography and environment. Now with the so we recognize the close link between the sciences anyway. And it's like a lot of the geologists or earth scientists really come through geography, the physical geography, like myself, there's one where I had school that really got me into geology. So we recognize the strong links and the fascinating topics you can actually choose from those. So we combined those two together and offer that in the BSc, so the 3-year BSc degree in physical geography and geology. So there's an F8, F6, with F6 UCAS code for the geology modules we offer. So with that degree or program, we actually combine the the surface processes. You will start surface processes and like the deep geology, like the interior of the planet, how they actually interlink. So from deep past to present, the structure of geography, like processes like fluidal, river migration, progression. And as you see here on the picture, you see here two students are actually sitting on a deltaic sediment deposit, which is produced now every day, which is like when you go to like India or any places in the world, you can see that in real time forming. Now here, these ones are over 350 million years old. So you actually combine that and see these and bring these together. With the similar to the physical geography or human geography, you also have the opportunity to take up residential field classes. So there are core ones in year 1 and 2, and loads, like a large range of optional field classes in year 3, which like more details will tell you later about that. You have a large range of modules. Here's just a short list, like Andy already alluded on some of like that you've done with the physical geography. So yeah, I can tap on those, have a large range of modules to choose from. Now, in addition to those, you also have like the rock cycle, major events and history. So things like the paleo aspect of that as well, climate change, which is a huge topic throughout your science career. Geologists, geographers, human geography will have to address the problem of climate change, impacts and adaptation. How do we deal with that? Environmental geosciences, river dynamics and mesh studies, and of course physical volcanology as well. So we're tapping into that as well. Now, the other program we offer is like a very broad one, geology. So that's like UCAS codes for F600 and 601. So that is like the 3-year and the 4-year degree. So MGeol, which is like accredited by the Geological Society of London. So we have it as a 3-year and a 4-year integrated master's program available to you. So it gives you a very broad training in geosciences. You look at the structure, how our planet was formed, its history, and of course the natural resources related to these, and actually the how we can extract those resources in a sustainable way. It includes mining, volcanology, deep time past, evolution of life, and this is really reflected as well in the modules you can choose. Major events in history, again, environmental geoscience, planetary science. We don't do just geology on planet Earth. We go to take you as well into space, our solar system and other planets as well. We'll look at that as well. Look at how they're formed, how we can actually think about space exploration. So you look at mineral deposits for net zero. We have to look for a sustainable future. Crustal dynamics, how does our planet work? It's unique, it's a blue planet, but what is plate tectonics and how do we benefit and actually learn from it as well? And with that are also like hazards related. Applications of microfossils is huge, and actually that is the next module we have an offer as well. And the next slide, please. So this now we have with us as well a very unique opportunity as well. You actually specialize in geology with paleontology. Now in the first 2 years, again, it's like the program is available as a 3 and a 4-year. With the MGeol, it's like the previous example, where you have like in your final year your own research project, which is supervised, but you are leading that as well in your specialized area. In this case, it will be in paleontology. We focus on paleontological themes, evolution, extinction, and brings in again like volcanology, my research as well. I provide the mechanism, volcanoes, but what died and how did it die and how did our planet recover? And that is really critical thinking and really critical for our future, for the future of humanity and our planet. Examples, again, major events in history, similar topics you can choose here from, but if you undertake the 4th year as well, you actually have like the opportunity to specialize in a fossilized area, research area here. Next slide, please, Andy. Before we go into the typical week of like what your timetable may look like as well, if you're not sure about, like, say like if you want to do geology or geology with paleontology or the geology degree or the other degrees as well, you can choose. You sign up for one, but we also understand that sometimes you sign up for something and then you realize that you just like you may have signed up for geology, but you see that actually paleontology is really exciting and you want to focus on that. So you actually have the opportunity to change between degree programs, and then up to like the it's like the end of semester 2 of your semester 1 of your second year. So you actually can change that. So the core studies in year 1 are very similar to all, but you have a large range to choose from. Now, Andy said as well, you'll see a lot of us. We have like a very good staff-student ratio. So you see about like 20 hours of us each week. So the timetable, we have contact time, so your study time where we teach, and have practical classes, but also self-study time. Here, just like you have the tutorial module, there's every fortnight, so like a member of staff will be assigned to you as like small groups, and we actually go through like subjects like transferable skills. How do you apply for a job? How do you write a CV? We practice that as well. Presentational skills as well. Then evolution of systems. You have 2-hour lectures here, a practical class with activities, computer exercises. You have to be numerical and using the computer, Excel, Word, and all those programs. And as well, like 2-hour workshops. The paleobiology, for example, is a 3-hour practical, and then followed by 2-hour workshops. Workshops are where we actually have a problem based. We set up a problem, introduce that, and then let you work on that, and we discuss it together and develop that step by step, which is like Form Core to Crust, one of my modules. It's a 2-3 hour workshop each week. So we have the pre-sessional material supporting the problem-based work task we do in class. It's all exciting. We do have lectures, and as Andy alluded on as well, I said we have a wide range of teaching, which includes practical workshops, small sessions, field-based work, and it's not just the lecture where you sit there, you write down, and we talk to you. It's a lot about like just addressing a problem and developing an answer together through that. And I hand over back to Andy again.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So yeah, a typical first year for geography and environmental science, this looks pretty similar. So again, you'll notice the lectures the modules are mixtures of lectures, not just lectures, but also practicals and tutorials, and that smaller group one-to-one teaching, getting you doing some activities. We also have a tutorial module where you'll meet your personal tutor weekly in the first year, first semester. And you'll see, this is for geographers in particular, so you'll see there's that mixture of evolution of the Earth system, which is physical environment, and then a human geography module, which is an introduction to human geography, and then the digital world, which is an introduction to spatial data, so satellite data and geographical information systems. So key data sources and techniques for both human and physical geographers. So this gives you a sense that in that first year, you do cover a lot of ground and you build a very wide foundation. And that's also what I forgot to mention earlier, is that for geographers, it's very easy to flip between human and physical geography degrees at the end of that first year, because you've had this common first year. So you get a year to have to think about what would interest you the most going forward into your second year. So we assess you in lots of different ways. You might be happy to hear none of the modules are only exams. Some have exams, but all will have multiple kinds of assessments. And those assessment types will be really quite varied depending on what it is, what skills we're trying to develop. So yeah, there may be the odd essay, but there's lots of other ways of assessing you: computer practicals and computer work, presentations, communicating in different ways, writing in different ways. So writing formally, scientifically, writing for the public, communicating complex information in lots of different ways and forums, even YouTube videos. It's really important to be able to communicate your understanding of different topics and issues, and a lot of assessments think about that as well as the kind of academic content. So all of these degrees have field courses, and as we mentioned in years 1 and 2, they're core, associated with core modules, so everyone goes on those field trips. So we go to Devon, the Peak District, and up to Scotland in year 1 across these degrees. And then in year 2, we have field trips to the Lake District, to southern Spain, Denmark, and to Anglesey. Because these are in the core modules and they're kind of compulsory parts of the degree, we pay the majority of the costs of these courses. So we ask only for an annual contribution from students to fieldwork costs. So, for example, in year 2, you might pay, that would be a £250 contribution, but for many students, that would actually be 2 field trips, because you might have the Lake District trip in semester 1 and then the Spain trip in semester 2. So we do try to cover as much of the cost of these as we can for you. And we also have other support in terms of fieldwork costs, including a scholarship scheme that students can apply to for extra funding, and maybe other things that succulent, but they are quite useful. So, for example, clothing and equipment pool. So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy expensive outdoor gear and things like that. You can borrow it if you just need it for field trips. In the 3rd year, we do have optional field courses. These go to some quite exciting destinations. These are almost all taught entirely in the field. So I'm involved in the Mojave Desert field trip there on the middle of the screen. And there we'll spend 10 days talking about landscape processes in the field rather than the lecture theatre. So these are field-based modules. I should add there are equivalent content covered in Leicester as well. So it's not like you would miss out on desert landscapes if you didn't want or weren't able to attend the field course. But there are costs associated with these as their options. So I'm trying to give a little bit of a breakdown of the costs. These are literally the costs in terms of flights and accommodation, and flights are normally the thing that dictate the cost of most of these trips. But you can see we go to some quite exciting places. The geographers and environmental scientists have a pretty amazing option to go to the Ecuadorian Amazon, 1st semester of the 3rd year, or they can go to the Mojave Desert. And many of the students are able to go to Tenerife for the physical volcanology course, and then the human geographers have a 3rd year field trip to Berlin in the 2nd semester of the 3rd year, which is a really interesting trip as well. I'm going to hand to Mark to talk about a couple of geology trips.
Thank you, Andy. Yes, like the opportunities you have, like to undertaking the field classes, are absolutely amazing. Like Tenerife is actually heading out next week. My colleague, that's usually my highlight. I'm not going this year, but my colleagues are going at the moment. The next week. But you also have the opportunity, we have a very strong applied group here, which I will take you to Cornwall to actually see like mining or the past mining activities, how you actually can, how we're looking at tailings. It's not just like the what we mine new materials, just like what used to be waste is now like sitting there on huge tailings, and it's a huge resource of a material we still can use. So it will bring you to Cornwall. It looks at some mining activities there, like Eden Project as well. Geothermal is a big thing as well. And the other optional one is here going to the Welsh Basin. You actually look through here. These are amazing rock formations which have a long story or history of revealing evolution of life and climate change through millions of years. So it's just like a group of our students standing in front of those. You just will go through these, and how you read these records. And Andy said as well, these modules are taught in the field, and so you will actually learn about the geology, the story they can tell. It's like a mystery story. You reveal this in on location there and then. And what we also have is like, this is like later on, like in the Northwestern Highlands, is just like for bringing like a very inclusive in terms of like topics field class, where you actually go to the Northwestern Highland, which is an incredibly long history spanning like hundreds of millions of years, which go through like structural geology, paleontology, volcanology, meteorite impacts, which and Andrew Miles is actually leading, and he has some very happy smiley faces on these field classes. And next slide, please, Andy. Now, we also offer the year abroad. We do recognize that actually starting here at the University of Leicester is a great opportunity, but also just going abroad, spending a year abroad is also absolutely fantastic. So we actually offer 2 different programs here. So the Global Citizen Study Abroad program, which is like a 3 years, so you actually graduate with a BSc, so Bachelor in Science, plus the year abroad. It converts into a 4-year degree, but with the degree title change, you have like a BSc on whatever subject you choose, be it physical geography or geology, plus the year abroad. So the destinations, they have a very, very, very large range of destinations. There depends though on the subject or program you choose. The destinations include USA, Canada, Australia, Czech Republic, Germany, New Zealand, and Japan. There's just a few of those, and there are hundreds of universities you can choose from. The MGEOL option includes New Zealand. That's the only one. There's an integrated program, which is like the only one which actually where you actually directly study in New Zealand at the University of Canterbury for 1 year, and the marks you achieve or accrue there will actually count to your university degree here at the University of Leicester. You would have to have like the 4th year, but whether you make the choice at the beginning or later on, you actually have quite a lot up to you. Again, up to your 2nd year, you can make that choice where you want to go along that route or not. So these year abroad schemes are competitive, so they're not guaranteed. So yeah, they are competitive, like there are places available for those. The tuition fees are reduced, so £1,250 at the moment. And there are also mark base, so you have to have at the end of semester 2 of your 2nd year. Sorry, I keep saying that semester 1 at the end of semester 1 of your 2nd year, an overall average of 55 in order to qualify for the program. Here's like an example here from a student here from Banakau who went there to Utrecht, so Netherlands, and absolutely loved that experience. It's like truly opened my eyes to a different way of living. You will learn and live in a different country. The teaching will be in English. You can also, of course, choose the subject in the language, like which country you're going, but the vast majority of subjects are taught in English, so you have a huge range of subjects to choose from. And with that, I hand it back to Andy again.
Thanks, Mark. So I'm slightly conscious of time, so just one final thing to sort of highlight in terms of options is we also have a year in industry which works in the same way as a year abroad. So it would convert you to a 4-year degree, and you do a 2 years with us, and then you do your 3rd year in industry. And I've got a few really nice examples of quite environmental and geoscience related placements that students have undertaken in their year in the industry period. So we take careers quite seriously. We spend quite a lot of time getting students to think about their employability, and we embed that actually within the courses. So it's not an extra, it's actually, we do it while we're taking other modules. So we call that the Leicester Award for Employability. And we get students to really think about the skills they're developing through their degree and actually take some time to reflect on their experiences and how they're preparing them for their future careers. So we're really pleased with a lot of our career data. This is just some data for geographers from our own alumni survey. It gives you a sense of the sorts of things people felt they got from their degree, which is what the word cloud shows. And then, of course, the sort of typical salaries that people have quite a few years after graduation. So I'd just like to make sure I don't skip this slide. I'm a little conscious of time. I think this might be one that's quite important. So in terms of applying, our standard offer is ABB. We work on a points equivalent basis. So we would actually convert those to UCAS points. So if you slipped in one but did better in another, that would still be fine. We ask for slightly higher grades for the MGEOL and slightly lower grades if you're also doing an EPQ. And I should also say that our offer making is quite aspirational. So even if your predicted grades are a little bit below that, we often will still make you an offer on the assumption that you may do much better than you think. And that also, we're keen to recruit students who want to come to us. For geography and environmental science, we don't have any requirement to actually have done geography. We teach that from the beginning. For the geology and the joint geol, we do ideally like 2 science A-levels, broadly interpreted, so we've got quite a range of subjects there. But we will make offers with 1 science as well. But you do need a little bit of science for the geology degree. And we do deal with people on an individual basis. So I do read UCAS statements, and when A-level results come in, I do work to try to find ways to keep students who picked us as firms to stay with us. And we do work on a very much individual basis at that stage. So we try not to treat you like a number, and try to help you work through the process. I just want to highlight, if you search for Springboard Spotlight, you can also see some of our colleagues with it's like a little learning module on climate change, which you can do, which is quite good support for A-levels studies. But the final thing just to say is, particularly if we don't get through all the questions, feel free to contact us. So we've got our direct email addresses here. And of course, we're all of different kinds of social media, but the Instagram, if you want to have a look at pictures of students doing field trips, and also the YouTube, these all have quite nice examples of things our students have been getting up to and a bit of sense of life in the school. So I am going to stop there to try to keep on time, less out of time, as it were. So I'm going to just stop sharing my screen now, and we can just see. Okay, so what are access requirements for? So the question is, what are access requirements? So I presume that means access to HE, or do you just mean, I'm not sure if that means general requirements. So we work with UCAS points. So we do accept lots of other qualifications, and we'll convert those to UCAS points at the point of receiving the qualification. So if, for example, you've done an A-level and a BTEC, we would convert those up to the points to see if you meet that points threshold. I think that's the only question. So who can I contact to discuss geology? That's Mark, who's with us here. We showed his email on the screen, and he's already written an answer to that as well. And I think we'll be sending, the other question is whether people can watch this again, which it looks like that's been answered as well. So is that all the question? Yeah, well, I think that's all from me. Don't know if Mark wants to say bye-bye or anything, any final things.
Yeah, you can't just see me, but you can hear me. If there's like coming back to the question about paleontology, now I'm screen high there. So if there's like a specific question about paleontology, the degree, either pop it in now here in the chat, or please do email me, just like on the email, just like Jenny just posted. Just I'm happy to answer any questions there. So I get in contact with my colleagues, like our paleontologists. So paleontology is a growing subject. We take up quite a lot of students who are very interested. And that's because it's not just like about like fossils, it's also the Anthropocene, which we are spearheading here at Leicester. So we have like the experts working on this. It's just like what humankind is leaving our legacy. It's a really fascinating topic. So please do get in touch, drop me an email, and I try to answer your questions. And if I can't, I'll just pass it on to if it's paleontology specific, if there are very specific questions, I will get you in touch with my colleagues in paleontology. And yeah, there is no more further questions in the account. There's one more.
Yes. So how do you decide whether to do the year abroad or year in industry? So you can, in theory, apply at the UCAS application stage, but what most students do is we normally, towards the end of the first year or early second year, we put out a call. We have 2 tutors whose job it is to run the year abroad and year in industry, and they will put out a call to students who might be interested in those, and they'll introduce how it works, and then students can make that decision actually once they've already started their degree. And if you do the year in industry, that will normally be decided in the first year, because in the second year you'll take a couple of extra modules that are associated with preparing for your work placement. But it's all done after you've started your course with us. And so, yeah, you can kind of make an informed decision with your tutor and with the year and industry year with tutors as well. There's another question, maybe Mark can answer this. It says, do all geology degrees share the first year or have a common first year?
Yeah, Claire, I can take that one. Yes, so the first year is common to all geology students, because like you come from different schools, you like subjects, like similar subjects, but they cover differently. So now, as Andy said, like early on as well, we are teaching geology, geography, human geography, but we also specialize. So we have our own research. So in order to just go and lead you into these specialized topics, we also just want to make sure that the core knowledge of the subject knowledge So we have all the students like join us at like the level which is like into like this specialized areas. Now that said, we do bring in, that's like in the first year, so in my first lectures or workshops, I'll bring in my teaching. So a lot of it will be, you can access in books, but a lot of it, what we bring into is like the research papers, and we bring that into our teaching. So the core, just like Shaw, is common to all, and that also leaves you the opportunity, if you just mentioned earlier on, if you're undecided, or you realize like you signed up for geology and just want to change into like another program, so that leaves you the option there as well. It's much easier for you to do that, to choose like another program, because you have like the core the first year is similar, so that leaves you the opportunity. If it would be very different, it would make it much more difficult for you to change into something, hence like the common first year. So in semester 2, so it's not semester 2, in the year 2 you will specialize more in that semester 2 than there. So up to that point you still can make these decisions to join or change between degrees. Just to pick up from Andy, like the abroad, I just put in the chat, or just wanted to press click, I don't think it went. You actually, the applications are, you will take the third year of your studies, a year abroad or a year in industry in your third year. The applications are in mid-November, so you will have the information before. We have like sessions to introduce those, and the applications will be, you will submit your application in mid-November. So you are in semester 1 in your second year. Is there any further questions? I can't see.
That might be all of them.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. If that's everything, apologies if we slightly overran there, but hopefully we've been able to give you enough information. But feel free to get in touch, either directly to us or to the university, and they'll pass on the messages. We always like to hear from people, so don't if you've got any questions we've not answered, or anything that wasn't clear, then feel free to follow up and get in touch with us. Otherwise, thank you very much for coming. Hope it was useful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Digital Open Day. So thank you very much.